Hello dear students. The life processes that take place in living organisms are nutrition, digestion, respiration, transportation and excretion. Today's topic is transportation in human beings. In this session, we are all going to identify the different components of the transportation system in human beings, differentiate the different blood vessels, and understand the functions of the different components of blood and also the functions of the blood vessels too. The different components of the transportation system in human beings, otherwise also known as the circulatory system in human beings, are the blood vessels and the heart. When your fingers get cut accidentally, the fluid that comes out of them is red in color and it is called blood. The blood is red in color due to the presence of iron-rich protein called hemoglobin. Blood is the fluid connective tissue. It transports food, oxygen and waste materials in our body. The different components of blood are plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells and the blood platelets. The plasma. Plasma is straw-colored or yellowish in color and it comprises 55% of the blood. It transports food, carbon dioxide and nitrogenous phase in dissolved form. It contains salts, enzymes, proteins, etc. The red blood cells helps to transport the respiratory gases and hormones. In this slide, you all can see the picture of the plasma and the picture of the RBC or the red blood cells. Next is about the white blood cells or WBC. It protects the body from infections. It fights against the disease-causing germs. The platelets circulate throughout your body. When you get injured, eventually the bleeding starts. But the flow of blood has to be minimized. And this is done by platelets. The heavy loss of blood may result in loss of pressure that will reduce the efficiency of the working of the pumping system of the human body. So wherever there is leak of blood, the leaks have to be plugged, and that is done by the platelets by clotting blood at the points of injury. In this slide, the first picture is the picture of the WBC and the second picture is the picture of the platelets. The next component of the transportation system in human beings are the blood vessels. What are blood vessels? The blood vessels are the network of tubes through which blood reaches all the tissues of the human body. You all might be familiar about the terms open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. Open circulatory system is found in those living organisms that do not have blood vessels and the blood flows into their cavity. For example, it takes place in arthropods and other living organisms. While closed circulatory system is found in living organisms that have blood vessels and are hard to pump blood. It is found mainly in human beings and animals. So I'm sure you're all familiar about blood vessels. I repeat again, they are the tubes through which, it's a network of tubes all around, that is all throughout the human body, through which the blood flows and reaches every part of the body. The blood vessels are subdivided into arteries, veins and capillaries. Now before getting into the functions of arteries, veins and capillaries, I would like to let you know the meaning of the term oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Now, the term oxygenated blood means the blood that is rich in oxygen, which the heart receives from the lungs through the pulmonary vein. And from the heart, the first blood vessel, which is the artery, carries it to the different parts of the body. Deoxygenated blood is the blood that is rich in carbon dioxide that is taken from different parts of the body back to the heart and from the heart to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. I hope you understood the difference between oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Now let's see the functions or the differences between the arteries, veins and capillaries. The arteries are the blood vessels that carry oxygenated blood from the heart to the different parts of the body. The walls of the artery are thick and elastic because the blood emerges from the heart under high pressure. To withstand the high pressure by which the blood flows, the walls of the arteries are thick and elastic. The veins are thin-walled because the blood flows under low pressure. And the veins carry deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body back to the heart. Veins have special structures called valves, with the help of which the blood doesn't flow back. It always flows in the forward direction. So it prevents the backflow of blood. But arteries do not have valves. I hope you understood the difference between arteries and veins. I repeat the differences for you. Arteries carry oxygenated blood from the heart to different parts of the body. Veins carry deoxygenated blood from the different parts of the body back to the heart. Arteries have thick elastic walls because the blood flows under high pressure. Veins have thin walls because the blood flows under low pressure. Arteries do not have valves, but veins have valves. Now we can see the pictures of the arteries and veins. So this is the picture of the artery. They are the blood vessels that carry oxygenated blood from the heart to the various parts of the body. And you can see from the picture that arteries, the walls of the arteries are thick. The next slide has got the pictures of the veins. Now veins are thin-walled and they carry deoxygenated blood. So both the arteries, veins and the capillaries too, are seen throughout the body of the human beings. Next are the capillaries. The capillaries are the smallest blood vessels. As I told you earlier, the arteries carry oxygenated blood to every part of the human body. That means it goes into the tissues and organs of the human body. Once it reaches the organ or the tissue, the artery divides into smaller tubes. And these smaller tubes or blood vessels are called capillaries. The walls of the capillaries are 1 cell thick. And the exchange of material between the blood that flows through the capillaries with the cells surrounding it takes place through the walls of the capillaries. The capillaries later join together to form veins. Now in this picture you can see the artery that later divides into smaller tubes or blood vessels called the capillaries, and the capillaries later join to form the vein. Hope it is clear. Next, I would like to tell you about the heart. Now, the heart is the pumping organ of the human body. You are all aware of it. And that is the last component of the transportation system in human body. And because of its pumping, it helps to push blood through the blood vessels to different parts of the human body. The next topic is lymph. Now, lymph is also another kind of fluid that is involved in transportation. It is otherwise known as the tissue fluid. As I mentioned earlier, the artery divides into capillaries once it reaches the organ or the tissue. As the blood flows through the capillaries, some of the plasma, proteins and the blood cells that are found in the blood that flows through the capillaries passes through the pores that are found on the walls of the capillaries and gets into the intracellular spaces found in the tissues of the organ. This fluid is called the lymph or the tissue fluid. The functions of the lymph or the tissue fluid are: number one, it helps to carry the absorbed and digested fat from the small intestine. The second function is it helps to drain excess fluid from the extracellular spaces back into the blood. And the third function is it contains specialized cells called lymphocytes that helps to maintain the immunity of the body. Lymph is different from that of blood. So before getting into that topic, I would like to let you know how lymph flows in the human body. As the lymph reaches the intracellular spaces, which is found in the tissues of the organs in the human body, the fluid goes into the lymphatic capillaries from the intracellular spaces and joins the larger lymph vessels, which later joins the larger lymph veins. So that is how the flow of lymph takes place. Now, if any bacteria or any such germ tries to attack the human body, the lymph carries it to special sites called lymph nodes, where the germ or the bacteria is completely destroyed. Now I would like to mention the differences between the lymph and blood. Lymph is colorless, while blood is red in color due to the presence of hemoglobin. Lymph contains lymphocytes, while blood contains plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. Lymph contains less proteins, while blood contains more proteins. So lymph is different from that of blood. Hope you have understood the transportation system in the human body, the different components of the transportation system in the human body, like the blood vessels, the heart, and also about the lymph. Thank you.